Yeah, we can start. Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. So our topic today is about navigating the Americas, and we had a slightly change here because we actually have another colleague joining. So we won't even talk only about the US and Brazil in specific, but also about Canada. So we managed to get a really good footprint here on the Americas. First of all, I want to have or give also my colleagues a chance to introduce myself. Just a few words about myself. My name is Felicitas. I'm with Switzerland Global Enterprise, and in my role, I support specifically Swiss startups and scale-ups in their international expansion. I'm based in Zurich. Hans, do you want to move on?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Felicitas. Hello, everybody. My name is Hans Ebi. I'm the head of the Swiss Business Hub in Brazil. What we do is very easy. Our mission is we enable new business for Swiss companies, and our vision is that Swiss companies can achieve their internationalization potential in the export markets.
I'm Etienne Gamache, trade advisor at the Swiss Business Hub Canada, based in Montreal, and I'm responsible for the export promotion of Swiss companies in Canada.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josephine. I'm the innovation lead at SwissNext in Boston and New York. I am based in New York, and we support Swiss startups that are looking to expand to the US market.
And my name is Oriane Rucci. I'm from Geneva, but based in Boston, also with SwissNext in Boston, New York. So we work together, operate the startup programs, helping them validate first, and enter in the US market, also fundraise. And I do mainly life sciences and clean tech.
Great, thank you so much. So you heard already, we teamed up here, and we even have this Swiss Tech branding here on our shirts. So what is all about that? Swiss Tech, it's an initiative. It's kind of an umbrella brand of 4 different Swiss organizations. So we have SG, Switzerland Global Enterprise. I will say a few words about that in a second. Then also SwissNext. You will also say some words about SwissNext. Also with us in the Swiss Tech team is Presence Switzerland. They are actually leading this whole initiative. And also on board is InnoSwiss, the Swiss Innovation Agency. Just a few words about SwissNext, and now I would like to hand over to you.
Yeah, of course. So SwissNext, we're part of the Ministry of Education, Research, Innovation, the SERI. We've been in the place for 25 years, and we're the first ever consulate of science in the world. So the goal is to connect Switzerland and the rest of the world, primarily outside of Europe, in the topic of science, technology, innovation, but also arts and education and academia. And yeah, basically we are a public and private partnership, a non-profit from the government, and we do a lot of different programs to help stakeholders from Switzerland connect abroad. Boston was their first office in 2000, but now we also have offices. So Boston and New York is one. San Francisco is a separate one. We have Brazil with Sao Paulo and Rio, India, China, Japan, Korea, and we also have a science counselor that belongs to SERI in the main embassies throughout the globe, and also start a program in Israel and London operated from embassies.
Well, thank you so much. Some words about Switzerland Global Enterprise. We are the official Swiss organization for export promotion and invest promotion. Today we will focus really on the topic of export promotion, so helping Swiss companies, helping Swiss startups to expand internationally. We are mandated by SECO, and we have around 200 employees, 100 here within Switzerland. Our headquarters is in Zurich, and then also similar to SwissNext, we have a global network of over 20 offices outside of Switzerland. These are called Swiss Business Hubs, and they are always connected to the Swiss embassy or consulate, and 2 of my colleagues are here actually with us from Brazil and Canada. An even better overview gives this map, and it's crowded, I know, but we managed to merge all our locations from Switzerland Global Enterprise and from SwissNext. So the Swiss Cross, these are the locations of Switzerland Global Enterprise, and the ones with the SwissNext logo. These are the locations obviously from SwissNext. You see, we also have like shared locations. I would say in general, we have a quite good global footprint. So if you have also, apart from the Americas, if you have any kind of questions, always feel free to reach out to SwissNext and SG, and we can also connect you then to our local teams there. Great. So that was a quick overview and introduction from our side. Now maybe just one question to the audience. You can just raise your hand. Who is here as like who is a founder or part of a startup? Okay, great. Are there any? I see investors here as well. Yeah, and the rest are, I would say, stakeholders from the ecosystem. Okay, so quite diverse group. It's good to know. I want to kick off this session with giving you a snapshot of different kind of ecosystems. The ecosystem we present today about within the Americas, and I would love each of you to give like a quick pitch. It shouldn't be longer than 2 minutes. I will have a look at my phone here to just give an overview, introduce your network or like your ecosystem, and maybe could also focus on why it is important to Swiss startups.
Sure.
Orion, do you want to start?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, Boston, I think it's a really great startup ecosystem because of its size, proximity to Europe. It's really like human size. So when you see like New York, San Francisco, those are really, really big cities with a lot of different sectors. Boston is definitely much smaller. I was very surprised when I joined. After like a couple of weeks, you already recognize people at networking events. So it's definitely a great ecosystem for that. Top talents in the world. Swiss people know MIT, they know Harvard, but they don't know a lot of other great university there. Boston College, Boston University, Northeastern, Tufts. It's really like the place for good talent which is also extremely expensive, but great talent. Really known for the life science ecosystem. Of course, Boston and in particular Cambridge and Kendall Square are known for that. It's known as the most intelligent square on Earth, and it's also the place with the most PhD on Earth, so it's definitely a great place for life science company, and also more recently climate. When I joined in 2022, I launched with Josephine a climate program on the East Coast. Boston has a lot of research in energy through MIT, but also the biggest incubator for clean tech startups in the US, in Cambridge, 20-minute walk from the SwissNext office. So yeah, long story short, Boston is a great place for the size of the ecosystem, the talent, the proximity, only 6-7 hour flight from Switzerland, only 6 hour difference. Great, very international, very reachable, but also on the cons, I would say very expensive and very competitive. So a lot of startups want to come there. Definitely a great place, but consider also other ecosystems that are more friendly for international expansions because less startups also. I think more than 5,000 startups per year are created in Boston. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Do you want to move on?
Sure, yeah. I mean, in contrast to Boston, New York is quite a large city. It is, I think it has over 8 million inhabitants, and it is the largest city in the US, and it is actually also the most diverse city. It is also the largest consumer base in the US, so it really has a lot of things to offer. It is the second largest startup ecosystem after San Francisco, so it really is a great place to be as a startup. I think one thing that also kind of is an advantage of New York is just that it is very diverse, not only in terms of like people, but also in terms of sectors. So there's a lot of different sectors that are present in New York City, and I think that really helps New York kind of be positioned as a location for every sector, right? I think a lot of times it's for tech, you would go to San Francisco. For life sciences, you would go to Boston. New York has a little bit of everything, which is great. Similar to Boston, it is very expensive to have a startup in New York City and to operate in New York City. So again, really think about if that is the right choice for you, if it really makes sense, or if another location within the US is also an option. But yeah, I think around 50 Fortune 500 companies are headquartered in New York City as well. So you really have a good access to a lot of potential customers and investors as well. There's over 100 VC firms that are based in New York City as well. So it really is a great landing point in the US, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Now let's move a bit up to Canada. I mean, I know Canada it's huge, but in general, what would you say? Like, can you pitch Canada for us?
Yes, it is huge. It is 10 million square kilometers, 6 time zones, but the ecosystem of startup is mostly concentrated in its main 3 cities, so Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. So Toronto being one of the leading tech hub in North America, with specific strength on the fintech sector, also the gaming, but also healthcare sector as well, health tech. Montreal has a focus on AI and machine learning, thanks to its Mila Institute, which is quite known, but also vibrant gaming and deep tech sector. And Vancouver focuses mostly on the clean tech sector and has excellent ties with West Coast, US West Coast cities such as Portland, Seattle, and Californian cities. Why it matters for Swiss companies is also that Canada is an ideal soft landing spot for Swiss companies venturing into the wider North American market. It has access to talent, lots of nice good universities with reputations, very open to immigration, Canada. A bit more than the US, I would say, at least
at least now.
These days. But also, like for work permits, it's quite open. So you have access to talents both for research and engineering, for instance, at a fraction of a cost of, let's say, Silicon Valley. Of course, Vancouver and Toronto are quite expensive nowadays, but you have Montreal that is cheaper, and also mid-sized cities such as Edmonton, Calgary, Ottawa, where you have the fastest population growth right now in Canada, in cities at least. And then Canada and Switzerland shares common values on, for instance, sustainability, product quality, research integrity. So that eases the collaboration between the 2 countries.
And now let's have a look to the south. Can you, Hans, give us a short pitch about Brazil?
Yes, I can. So Brazil, as you know, is a continental-sized country, 210 million people. It's a big testbed for consumer-oriented startups because of the sheer size. It's a young population, median age 32 years. And different to the countries where my colleagues live, Brazil is characterized being socio-demographic, very polarized. You have a high polarization of the socio-demographic population. So it's very important to focus on the key sector. If you have a premium product, you will not address 60% of the population. You will address maybe 5–10% of the population. So focus is key. Brazil has advanced heavily with the startups. We have now, since 2018, 24 unicorns. A notable one is Nubank, which is the largest digital bank in the world outside Asia. So sectors that are currently very interesting for startups are in the fintech area. Brazilians are very curious. We fill out the the tax declaration 20 years only digital, so it's highly digitized country compared to other countries. Agribusiness, Brazil with a population of 200 million feeds 800 million people, so a lot of opportunities in this sector as well. Smart farming, artificial intelligence, weather forecasts. Then the medtech sector is very interesting as well. And last but not least, the clean tech in the infrastructure sector, as the country is prioritizing all infrastructure assets from ports to airports, railways, energy generation, energy transmission. And Brazil is on the race to net zero, expected to be the first country among the G20 countries to reach net zero.
On the point. Great, thank you so much, each of you. So we heard a lot about like opportunities, right? But let's start a bit also with the challenges. I guess like all of you have worked together with companies, with Swiss startups entering these markets. Where do you see like the challenges? What are pitfalls, or like just like lessons learned you can share here with the audience? Just feel free to start wherever. Yeah?
Yeah, we see a lot of very common mistakes in the US, which probably are the same for San Francisco, Boston, and New York. First, I would say have a strategy early. When you're going to go to the US, you should have a rough estimation of a timeline and the roadmap and objective. Like, I think startups, they don't really know where they're going when they start internationalizing, and that should be the first question you're answering. Okay, do I want to have an office? Do I want to hire someone there? Do I want to, like, how long is it going to take to be regulated? Maybe I should go from there. How much money do you need before you get into the markets? Like, how much money would you have like raised outside of the US to enter the US? All these questions. So the timeline, I see startups, they come and they don't really see like the big picture and like the long-term plan. And that makes it really hard for them to develop like an internationalization strategy. So that's the first one. The other one I would say is definitely the resource they put for internationalization. I see everyone that tell me the US is my first market. They come for 2 weeks and then they go home and they barely follow up. And then they come for 2 weeks again, like 1 week after. You cannot enter a market like this. You need to have enough resources to enter the US. You need to hire someone there early. If possible, someone that knows the code, like an American or someone that have lived there long enough that they know how it works, not just for the contact, but for the culture. I think people see the US as somewhat similar culturally compared to Switzerland, but they tend to underestimate the cultural barrier and the time and the money it takes to actually be there. Americans care a lot that someone is there. They are super US-centered, so they're not super used to doing business with people outside of it, and it scares them a little bit. And especially in terms of investment, that's second biggest mistake I see. It's very hard for Swiss startups to get money in the US, and yet 95% of the startup I work with, the word investment and VC is in the first sentence. I come to the US to raise money, and that's for a good reason. I mean, there's so much VC money in the US, in Boston and in Massachusetts, around the same population in Massachusetts and Switzerland, but 10 times the venture capital. But they tend to underestimate how hard is it to get access to this capital, especially if you're not incorporated in the US. So definitely have a fundraising strategy ready. And don't think you know how to pitch in the US because you know how to pitch in Switzerland. It's very different. Change your ask, change your pitch, change your strategy, and be on site to network.
Can you add?
Yeah, maybe I can add on a bit. Agree with everything that she just said, but I would also add that a lot of startups see the US as one homogeneous country or market. It is not. It is, the language is the same, the mindset is the same, but really every state has different regulations, different ways of doing business. So really kind of make sure that you do look at that as well, right? I think it is easier than in Europe because you don't have to translate everything into like 10,000 languages. For that, it does make it easier, but just be sure that you really understand the different states, how they work, and also kind of figuring out which one makes the most sense for you. It might not be Boston, it might not be New York, it might not be San Francisco, it might be Texas or North Carolina. So just really make sure that you go beyond those big startup ecosystems and really kind of explore where are your customers, where is it easy for you to enter, and really build that up instead of trying to enter the US as a whole. I think that's not a smart method of doing it. And I think the other point I just want to say is messaging. Be concise with your messaging, be bold with it, and just make sure that you can sell the solution that you are providing. I think a lot of Swiss startups tend to focus on the product, which is great, the technology, which is great, but really kind of try to sell, like what can you provide for the company that you're trying to sell to? How can you make them money, or how can you save them money, right? Kind of just making sure that you keep that message consistent is extremely important as well, I think.
Yeah, and just to add on what you were saying, yes, also, obviously we're here to sell Boston, New York, but it's not necessarily the good market to start with in the US. The willingness to do business with international companies in very competitive ecosystems like that tends to be lower. For example, for the first time in June, I'm doing a program with North Carolina. We've done program in Texas and Connecticut and other a bit less prestigious ecosystem as seen externally. They can have much more help for foreign companies that want to establish, much more support also financially, much more advantageous, because for them they try to attract startups there. Or like Boston, New York, San Francisco, I mean, they don't need to try to attract companies there.
Yeah.
So therefore the market tends to be quite saturated, and it's much harder for international companies. So consider other ecosystems.
Yeah. Okay, good tips. When it comes to Canada,
yeah, well,
what do you
in Canada,
see?
a bit like in the US, of course, we don't have the same population, but in terms of, I mean, it's actually 10 provinces and 3 territories. So each of the provinces have their own regulations. So it's not that harmonized. In Switzerland, there's the cantonal rivalries and so on, but it's way more harmonized than in Canada. So from an outward perspective, it can be surprising. To give you an example, the province of Quebec used the civil law, civil code as the legal system, as in continental Europe, but the rest of Canada use common law. Road transportation will be managed by the provinces, but transport of dangerous goods is a federal matter. If it's a railroad that stays within the province, then it's provincial. If it crosses a provincial border, federal, and so on and so forth. So it's a patchwork of regulations. So it's always good to ask us at the Swiss Business Hub what are the regulatory framework, so that we can advise, so to avoid bad surprises. Also languages, of course. So Quebec is majority of francophones, so 80%, but French is also spoken in New Brunswick and Ontario. There are linguistic laws also for the labeling because of that. And it's not just translating European English and French. There are specific terms that are local to Canada to keep in mind, so it can be more complicated than what it is. Second mistake that we see is the overlooking the need of a local presence. Same thing. So having a sales rep on site or a business partner that knows the market will greatly improve the trust and business traction. And also, last mistake, not leveraging enough the Canadian ecosystem. So sometimes these Swiss companies will be surprised of the extent of that support and funding that exists in Canada for mentorship as well, and also soft lending opportunities. So by getting in touch with us or the Canadian Embassy in Bern or trade promotion agencies of the different provinces, you can get good, excellent information, comprehensive information, and then facilitate your market entry in Canada. Yeah.
Last but not least, Hans,
Thank you.
Brazil.
Yeah, to wrap it up, in Brazil, I would say first place, define the addressable market. We have a very polarized socio-demographic situation. Focus on the premium segment if your product is a premium segment. Then figure out where to play and how to win. And for that, you need local knowledge in Brazil. Brazil is a highly regulated market in terms of taxes, labor, and regulation. And for that, you need local knowledge. So I think that's key. The salaries are not so high, so you have lower costs with rent and with salaries, but you need more people because you need this local knowledge, and this is difficult to acquaint from abroad.
Great. So we talked about challenges. Sometimes there were already kind of opportunities you mentioned. Are there any other opportunities or activities? You mentioned the Climate Collider already. Other activities that you're running in your countries that are relevant also here for the audience you want to share?
Yeah. So in Boston, we have different programs, especially with InnoSuisse, the startup camps go global. We do a mix of individual support and co-host-based model. In terms of cohort, this year we have biotech cohort right before the Bio International Convention. So we'll be in North Carolina and in Boston the second week of June, and then at the Bio International Convention with SGE the following week. It's a great collaboration. In general, we always work with biotech startups, so any biotech entrepreneurs interested in the US market, feel free to come talk to me. We're also trying to develop more a medtech program, looking at the potential of a program on surgical innovation with the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota in the fall. So if that's something that's of interest as well. We have quite a lot of medtech, so definitely interested in having more in this field. And then, yeah, for climate, we're recruiting until mid-June for a program that's going to be 2 weeks at the end of September in Boston, Connecticut, and New York, right before Climate Week. So the idea would be in Boston to have sessions with lawyers, entrepreneurs, investors, and so on, really get to know the US market, if it's a good market for you, really give you an overview when you're early in the internationalization process of what your strategy should look like, a lot of networking opportunities, there would be a lot of legal, admin, regulatory, and then the second week will be in New York for Climate Week, one of the biggest events for climate, so great opportunity to network. So those Climate Week is something we do together, Life Science is more in Boston. And you have other
I do also run the startup camps in New York as well. And I do have New York Tech Week coming up in the first week of June, which is quite a big event every year as well. It's organized by A16Z, the VC firm. And it's, quite a big conference around anything that's related to tech. There's also the AI Summit that is happening in December in New York. So anything tech related, I'm sure that would be interesting for the tech startups.
So it's not events, but two sectors that are particularly of interest right now in Canada. So first of all, mining. Well, we know the price of gold right now, $3,200 US an ounce. So there are 200 active mining sites in Canada. All mines are being redeveloped in that context. So all the auxiliary services that innovative Swiss companies can bring are always welcome. So in subsectors such as inspection, drones, to increase the efficiency of mining operations, waste and water management. So there's a strong interest for that in Canada right now, and also rail sector. So all the mid-sized to large sized cities in Canada all have multi-billion projects going on to extend the commuter train system, metro lines, and the federal government announced a few months ago a new high-speed rail project. We've been waiting this for decades. So if everything goes well, the construction should start in 2030. So that's the biggest project, infrastructure project in since Canada exists, basically. So it will link Quebec City to Toronto, passing through Montreal, so where most of the population is concentrated in Canada.
Yeah. Hans, what can you add here?
Well, we have two major events, flagship events. End of the year, December, we have 3 days infrastructure forum on topics energy, transport, and sanitation. The reason is that all the infrastructure assets are being privatized. Private operators, concessionaires obtain the concession. They have to fix a lot of things, from avoiding losing water to increasing efficiency in energy generation. This is an event for around 300, 350 people where we bring together all the ecosystem, government representatives, the operators and concessionaires from transport, sanitation, and energy sectors, and then investors, multilateral banks like the World Bank, IDB. But we don't do this just to do an event. We want to bring together the Swiss companies with the Brazilian operators. So we do matchmaking meetings It's all the companies, Swiss companies, they fill out a one-pager telling them who they are, what the USPs are, who they're looking at. We do the same thing for the counterparts, the Brazilian companies, what they do, what they're looking for technologies, and then we organize these matchmaking meetings at the Infrastructure Forum. That's December. In November, we have the COP30 in Belém. Big challenge because of the location. We are organizing a Swiss pavilion there. Currently, we have 22 Swiss companies interested to join the Swiss pavilion. We will there have an arena, and also there we want to create, panels where the Swiss companies, together with the local stakeholders, that can be the local community or also the local operators and concessionaires, discuss topics of relevance for COP30, but also for their business. Other than that, whenever you're coming to Brazil, we are very happy to support you, to connect you with your potential business partners, or to support you together with our colleagues from Swissnex to get safe and sound to the Brazilian market.
Great. So now we heard a lot about the markets, and the next agenda point is getting a bit more interactive. So please, please join us. We heard already a bit about like the different kind of business culture. To make it a bit more interactive and more fun, we kind of created different kind of scenarios, and you as an audience, you should guess for which country it would be like the best fit. I will just show you one, so it's easier to understand. So you can read here like the scenario we made up, and you should guess now which country you think that would be most appropriate. Of course, just like disclaimer, these are kind of stereotypes, right? So, of course, not everyone is acting. But when you read through this scenario, so we have, it could be in Brazil, it could be in the US, or it could be in Canada. Just, yeah.
Maybe I should go on there.
Yeah. Thank you. There is one guess, US. I hear Brazil. The Brazilian guy, what do you think?
Maybe they can vote.
Yeah, who is for Brazil? That's a good point. The majority. Who said the US? Okay, also some people. Hans, what do you think? Do you want to?
It's Brazil. People, they like to create a relation. They want to learn a little. It's very important for them to create a base of trust. So to understand with whom am I dealing. And it's common to share even personal things. It's not, as you said, it's not a stereotype. Not everybody, but it's very common that that you have a lot of exchange before you get talking business.
Okay, so keep that in mind when you meet up with a Brazilian businessman next time. Okay, so that's the next scenario. It's like, within a VC meeting, you're pitching, and then you get the response from an investor. What do you think, like, which country is it? Let's do like, let's try it again. Who think it's Canada? Brazil? The US? Right. You want to elaborate on that?
I think for any Swiss founder, if you go to the US and pitch there, just like increase all of your numbers by like 100, basically. But yeah, it's very much about the vision, about being ambitious, and really kind of selling the bigger picture. I think Swiss founders often tend to be very grounded with that, but just 10x everything or 100x, and then you'll be good. So don't be afraid to go above.
I think it's just culturally, even outside the startup space, it's in the education of the American. I think in Switzerland we raise kind of trying to be modest a bit, and it's like if you're good, you don't need to be loud about it. But like in the US, it's more like if you don't trust yourself, who would? It's a bit more the mindset here.
Cool. Okay, let's move on. Next scenario, we call it the quiet yes. So there are different kind of, this kind of reaction within a business meeting. And the last answer is okay, we will circle back next week. Who think this meeting is happening in Brazil? The US? There's one for US. Canada? Okay.
Yes.
Etienne?
Yes, I mean, it matches a bit the stereotype of Canadians sometimes being excessively polite, not saying exactly what they mean, to be, to an extent, to be it's sort of hypocrisy, we could say. But yes, so when there's a no, when we have to say no, often there's a sort of circumlocution, and sometimes their email is it's not even clear that's it's a no. So yeah, it reflects a bit that stereotypes of Canadians. But yeah, that's how it is.
Okay, I think we have one last here. So we covered each country once. So which one do you think is this scenario? This time, scenario is the networking event. Okay, I think everyone read through it. Who think this networking event happened in Brazil? Really on the point? No. The US? Okay, and who thinks Canada? Okay, I think you're doing a really good job.
Yeah,
do you
maybe
want to,
I can just
elaborate?
quickly explain. I mean, you guys already know, but networking is very transactional in the US. So it's really kind of about what can I get from you, what can you get from me? So as soon as it's been established that there's no mutual interest there, they very quickly move on to the next networking interaction. So this is kind of a good example of that. Don't be offended by it. It just is how it is. And you can do the same, by the way. So if you're not interested, you can also just walk away and it's fine.
It's also much more common to enter a conversation. When I network here, I never really know when it's okay for me to get in a conversation. In the US, a good advice I got when I started was look at the feet. If the feet are open, you can get in the conversation.
Okay, that's a cool tip. Good to know. Okay, so that's about our small quiz. Oh, let's move back because that's the last slide. So we are coming to an end, and to wrap up, also I want each of you to maybe name one specific tip you want to share with the audience, with Swiss startups that want to enter your markets, but also just for everyone, what do you think is one specific tip you want to share with them? Oriane, do you want to start here?
Sure. My tip would be sign up for Swiss Next program.
For this, I can already share this slide here.
I think it's important when you start internationalization that you know a bit where you're going and have an overview. I think a lot of startups lack the overview. Know what roughly you plan to do when, and go from there. And my second tip, I already said it, but adapt your strategy to the market and hire locally. But if you're early in the internationalization process, it may be too early to start internationalization, but it's definitely not too early to think about it and to have a rough plan. So even if you think it's too early, it's already a great time to get in touch with us and do some basic research to have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe I can add on to that. I would say be persistent. No one is waiting for you in the US. So just make sure that you really have a concise message, that you have a good kind of pitch that you can give to the US customers or partners, and just be ambitious with it as well. And just follow up and keep going, because you're going to get a lot of no's, or a lot of people are going to ghost you, but you just got to keep pushing for it. And you can be a lot more persistent than you would be in a Swiss context. So that's my number one tip, I would say.
Yeah, for me, I would say just to contact us, because we have a very broad network, so we can probably help you. We're a small team. We're a team of 3 in Montreal, but we rely extensively on a very vast network across the country. So most likely we can find a good business partner for you in Canada.
Mm-hmm. And for Brazil, as I said before, understand your addressable market. Your solution might not be for everybody. Understand where to play and how to win before you get into the market. Brazil is a highly regulated market. You will need local expertise, so it's good to choose your consultants wisely. And very important, this is for free. Talk to your peer companies, to successful Swiss international companies in the markets to learn from them.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good way to end this panel. What I want to highlight here is these 2 programs we are running together with InnoSwiss. So on the left side, maybe Orion, you can just say a few words, not only for the US, but for in general about the startup camps.
Yeah, sure. So the startup camps are programs that are powered by InnoSwiss, but managed by Swissnex. The idea is to take your startup abroad. We are quite free in the way that we operate it, and that depends really much of the market. So we usually recruit per quarter. So 4 times a year you can apply. You need to be in InnoSwiss coaching to be eligible. So if you are, and if you're interested in a certain market, feel free to contact us, and we'll help you with market validation and market entry abroad. It's always with an individual support component. Sometimes it's individual travel, and sometimes the travel is with a group as a cohort. The program is free. There is a travel stipend of 3,000 to 6,000 Swiss franc, depending on if it's market validation and market entry. Obviously, we don't take any equity. And yeah, as we said, we are recruiting currently for the climate program in Boston and New York, but also in Brazil. And if you're interested in Brazil for climate, there is Vincent also in the room that you can go talk to afterwards.
Great. And then some words about the InnoSwiss Trade Fair program. That is also kind of like financed by and run by InnoSwiss, and we are operating it. These are kind of 2 pillars. So the first pillar is like our lead fair program. So we have a list of lead fairs. We are there every year. It's a CES in Las Vegas, beginning of the year, Consumer Electronics Show. Then we are present at Viva Technology in Paris. That's just around the corner in June. We are also present at Slush in Helsinki. So if you're looking for investors also outside of Switzerland, that might be something interesting end of this year. And we are also running 2 biotech trade shows in Boston, as you mentioned, and also the Europe version that's this year in Vienna in November. Next to that, you can also be present at like an individual trade show if you are from the medtech area and you have like a specific trade show somewhere around the world where you want to participate, be present there with a booth. You can also reach out to us and get also financial support for that. In general, I think trade shows are a good way to test the waters, get a first impression of a market, build up your network, get your first clients, your first leads. So that could be also something that helps when it comes to internationalization. Great, and with that, I really want to thank you all, having you here in Bern today. I think it's really nice, and of course also the whole audience for being present here. If you have any kind of questions, because we are running out of time, the speakers are here with us. We also have a booth downstairs, so feel free to just swing by and ask any burning questions you might have. Thank you so much for being here.